the alien warships have already reached the solar system. This truly sensational and remarkable statement was made by the former NASA employee, Norman Begrin. The Kuiper Belt, essentially, is an interplanetary military base, a cluster of asteroids on the edge of the solar system, a waypoint from which it is convenient to launch ships toward the planets in our star system. The scientists noted that the extraterrestrial fleet has been growing year by year. It is currently hidden behind the rings of Jupiter and Saturn, but the concentration of ships will soon reach a critical mass, meaning the humanoid army could attack at any moment. Norman Begrin's incredible hypothesis has already found support among ufologists. In their opinion, the former NASA employee revealed one of the agency's most closely guarded secrets. By the way, the organization where Begrin worked is a division of the US government, meaning he certainly had access to classified materials. A UFO has been spotted above the Chinese military spaceport in Xichang. According to local media reports, a research probe was observed launching from a site in the southwestern Sichuan province. However, independent journalists insist that a UFO was shot down in China. Meanwhile, an American source close to the CIA has stated that the Chinese have long possessed an extensive military space arsenal. It includes interceptor missiles and devices capable of disabling the navigation systems of alien reconnaissance drones. Experts have already calculated China's combat potential. At its core is the DN-2 missile, capable of striking targets up to 21,000 miles, 35,000 kilometers, from Earth. This area is home to a significant number of military satellites from various countries. It's also where there's heightened activity of unidentified flying objects. Moreover, the Chinese seem to have been the first to test cutting-edge technologies in space that could greatly increase Earth's chances in an intergalactic confrontation. The Moon could become a key element in Earth's defense system against extraterrestrial threats. The US has already acknowledged this. NASA has announced the creation of 4 teams tasked with searching for potential threats within the solar system. The first group will study the Moon. The second will focus on asteroids that are near Earth. The third will explore Saturn's rings. The fourth will tackle a project codenamed Espresso, aimed at identifying potential threats to humanity. The first line of space defense seems to be taking solid shape. According to military sources, a new system of military satellites and laser weaponry will be launched into orbit. The only remaining question is whether the major powers will be able to reach an agreement in the face of a real extraterrestrial threat. If not, any Hollywood scenario of an alien invasion will seem like a naive fairy tale to people. Few know that the first reports of UFO sightings in this area appeared back in the early 70s, right after the catastrophic failure of the secret nuclear program Globus 1. On September 20th, 1977, at 4 a.m., an alien military spacecraft intruded into the airspace of the Soviet Union without declaring war. There were many witnesses to the event. The Petrozavodsk Phenomenon, as this incident was officially called, was an incredible event that could not be denied. Hundreds of witnesses were present. To prevent panic, the authorities even had to involve the central press. A quote from the Pravda newspaper. On September 20th, a huge star suddenly flared up in the dark sky, impulsively sending beams of light towards Earth. This star hovered over Petrozavodsk in the shape of a jellyfish, showering the city with countless thin beams resembling a torrential rain. Here's what was written in the Aviation and Cosmonautics magazine. When a bright star appeared over Lake Onega, all eyewitnesses were gripped by a sudden sense of fear and doom. At the same time, computing centers in the city registered major malfunctions in the computers. But this wasn't the worst consequence of the brazen invasion. The next morning, hundreds of residents of Petrozavodsk discovered melted holes in the windows of their apartments. Despite the information leaked to the press, the conflict was somehow contained. The official investigation data was immediately classified as top secret. However, information about the incident also found its way into the CIA's archives. In 1977, Yuri Gromov, the director of the Hydrometeorological Observatory, told a TASS correspondent that no technical experiments had been conducted in the city. The events also couldn't be classified as mirages, since melted holes in windows don't appear on their own. 40 years ago, hundreds of residents of Petrozavodsk really did see a giant UFO scanning the houses and dropping some kind of ballast, similar to shrapnel. But the target wasn't the peaceful Soviet city. It was a top-secret military facility located just 185 miles, 300 kilometers away. If we piece together all the details of this simple puzzle, it becomes clear that in the winter of 1977, Soviet forces thwarted the maneuvers of an alien reconnaissance ship over the Plesetsk cosmodrome. As eyewitness testimony shows, this was far from the only conflict between Earth's armed forces and extraterrestrial civilizations. The Motovsky Bay of the Barents Sea. Here, in 1979, an unidentified object hovered over one of the Northern Fleet's nuclear submarines. The submarine had to maneuver, as diving wasn't possible due to the shallow depth. Soon, the UFO rapidly ascended and disappeared. Later, technicians recorded malfunctions in the missile launch block. A similar incident occurred in the summer of 1988 near Shikotan Island. For 10 minutes, a UFO hovered above the heavy aircraft carrier Novorossiysk before disappearing to the south. During the observation, and for another 15 minutes after the object disappeared, the cruiser's communication and electrical systems were down. Alien warships have been detected on Mars' moon, Phobos. Gigantic UFOs are hovering near the sun. But understanding the true situation doesn't get any easier. Does humanity have a chance to win in an interplanetary confrontation? Can we trust our so-called gray allies, who allegedly work for Earth's interests? Who knows? Maybe in another star system, they too know the legend of the Trojan horse? In this case, a Trojan flying saucer.